Hi, I'm Julia Piazza, and this is Pache. Welcome back to your 8-week Birth Wisdom Yoga Prenatal series. This week, our birth wisdom is intuition, and that's from my book, Birth Wisdom Yoga, Remedies and Journal. We're going to be exploring more about your intuition and how you can use the breath when you practice yoga and take that into your everyday life to really tap into your unique wisdom and intuition in your pregnancy, in labor and childbirth, and even in mothering. And one of the things that I found as I've worked with women in our prenatal classes and the women wisdom circles is that once you find out you're pregnant, it seems like many people have opinions and they're not afraid to share them with you about all of it. And so we're going to kind of work through how you can get grounded into your breath and really listen to what is best for you and your family. And you'll take that into not only your birth, which will be so empowering, but also for the rest of your life as you advocate for your children. We're going to go ahead and start today in meditation. So you can come on down to your left or right side. You can have a couple of blankets like I have here or pillows, and we will place those between your knees or even under your head or maybe even under your belly or your baby. So I'll see you on your mat in meditation. So we're going to begin in meditation, and you can use some blankets from your home that you fold. You can use pillows, or even if you have yoga bolsters. So we're going to give you some support when you lay down. If you find that you're often sleeping on your left side, which I know is recommended, it helps create a better oxygen flow for you and baby, then when we're practicing, go ahead and come onto your right side, because I hear from women often that their left hip starts cramping and getting sore because you're laying on it all the time. So let's go ahead and come on down, taking your blanket or pillows onto your right side. And we're going to take the blanket between your knees. If you have another blanket or pillow and you want to put that underneath your belly, your baby, that might feel good too. And then just cradling your head in your elbow. And we're going to come into your breath, so allow your eyes to shut down. Maybe place one hand on your baby. And just begin to lengthen the breath nice and slow. So you're allowing your inhale to lengthen all the way up through the crown of your head. And then your exhale is coming all the way down around your baby and out your toes. And just begin to feel your rhythm with your breath. And as you notice your thoughts in your mind that might be really busy and really full, and that's okay. Just remember, we never control the mind in meditation. We simply practice releasing the thoughts again and again with the breath, and then returning to the inhale even deeper and even slower. So we're creating that space in your mind and your body to feel and really connect to your intuition here. What feels good for you and your family. And just continue releasing the thoughts and breathe into the space you're creating, lengthening the inhale and the exhale. And taking a deep inhale here. And open up, sigh out your exhale completely. Let's take 3 more breaths, long and slow, letting everything go on your exhale. And then just slowly, gently opening your eyes and taking your time. We're going to find our way to hands and knees and just releasing your blanket or pillows. And if you have a blanket, go ahead and open that up and place it in the center of your mat. So this is just to protect your knees. It'll feel good when we practice together. And then we're going to keep a block close by. And if you don't have blocks, you can also use even a pillow will be fine. So we're coming into child's pose. The knees are wide. And we're going to walk the hands forward here. If you feel like you need more space for your baby, you just go ahead and take your block here and put that underneath your forehead. And let's come back into that breath. Continuing to release the thoughts in your mind. Just letting the thoughts fall out right here. And return to the breath even deeper and even slower. Always remembering, if I had one gift for you to take with you to your labor, it would be the breath we're practicing here together. It's long and slow. It's grounding and centering. And it is the one thing that you can control in labor. And it's also the one thing that will get you through no matter what your labor looks like. So knowing that as we practice, dive in deeper and deeper into that breath, knowing you'll take that into your labor, it will be there for you. Deep breath in. And open up, sigh it out. And then we're going to slowly come on out of child's pose. And coming over to hands and knees. And just a reminder, when we work on hands and knees, you can walk the hands forward. You have almost twice as much fluid in your body when you're pregnant. So stacking the hands right under the shoulders might feel really uncomfortable. So you can walk the hands forward. You can come onto your fist. You can also roll up the end of your mat and take the base of your hand right below your wrist at the edge. It'll take you right out of your wrist. It'll feel much better, most likely. So you decide what feels good. And we're going to set up for thread the needle. So we're going to get into every part of your spine as we practice together today. Press down with your left hand. Fingers are wide in the center of your mat. Inhale, take the right hand up. And then take that right hand under the left elbow and drop your cheek down onto your mat. And you can also even use a block there. If you feel like you need a little more space, you can place the block right under your cheek or a pillow. And then come into the breath, allow the eyes to shut down. Releasing that exhale completely. And if that feels too deep, remember you can always modify, thread the needle, bring your forearm here, place your head down in front of you here. You're still getting a nice stretch in the spine. And let's gently come back to center, hands and knees. And we will go ahead and set up for the other side. So we're pressing the right hand down in the center of your mat. With the breath, reach up, inhale. And then take that left hand under the right elbow. We're going to come all the way down, drop the cheek down. You can also place a block under the cheek here if that feels good. And you can rest your right elbow on your mat. If you want a little bit more, you can walk that hand forward. Coming into the breath completely. And then we'll gently come back to center. And coming to hands and knees, we're going to go ahead and set up for cow pose. So walking the hands forward, find where it feels good for you. And we're going to go ahead and inhale, take your chin and your tailbone up to the sky. And with your exhale, press into the hands, arch the back, and drop your head. And just alternate with your breath. As you inhale, everything lifts up. And as you exhale, drop the head, press into the hands, breathe into the opening in your spine. And then we're going to slowly come back to center. Take the knees a little bit wider. Walk your hands forward, and we're coming into figure eight. So a nice big figure eight, taking your circles all the way forward, pressing into the hands, reach back with your hips. So this is just a wonderful pose for opening up the entire pelvis. And you can use this in any stage of labor. It just feels good to have your baby floating off of your back, and it's creating lots of space. So whenever we can move the pelvis, we know that we're creating space for your baby. So I always say plan to have a yoga mat at your birth, and that'll make it so much easier. You'll have that option to get down on hands and knees, use the pillows there. And now let's come back to center. We're taking this a little bit deeper. We're going to step the left foot out to the side and just soften your knee here. We're going to rock and roll forward and back. So this is just a great pose for lengthening and stretching all of the muscles in the pelvic floor. So not only are you preparing for birth, but you're also working on some pelvic floor muscles, and we'll get into that even more in my pelvic floor yoga videos, but know that this is just a great supportive pose for that. And you can also take this to labor. It just feels great. Let's go ahead and try the other side. Come back to center. And we'll take the right foot out to the side. Soften the knee. You're adjusting your feet wherever it feels good. And we're going to rock and roll forward and back. And remember, in labor, you could have a birth ball here. You can be rocking and rolling for hours, and we know that you're creating space for baby here. So the research shows you're actually creating 30% more space in the pelvis when you're in this position. So that's just amazing. And it feels good. Still breathing. And still releasing that exhale. You might notice one side's a little tighter than the other. That's pretty normal. Usually one side of the pelvic floor muscles are a little bit tighter, and that might be what you're feeling as well. So let's come back to center. And we're going to set up for downward facing dog. So fingers are wide, walk the hands forward. And we're going to go ahead and curl the toes on your mat and take the hips up to the sky. If at any time downward dog doesn't feel good, you can also come over to the wall, press your hands into the wall and step back with your feet and get a nice stretch. That's called wall plank. So let's go ahead and come into downward dog. And you can walk the feet out as wide as you like. And just take the hips up to the sky. Allow the heels to soften down. Relax your head. And just settle into your breath here. Maybe bending left and right. Or maybe you just need stillness. So you decide here. 2 more breaths, long and slow. And bending your knees a lot. We're going to gently walk the hands to your feet. And take your time here. We're going to roll up slowly, standing up. Just keeping a micro bend in your knees. And I might be losing this. There we go. And we're going to look at how you're standing a little bit here. So feet are wide. You're going to go ahead and press into your heels. And take a softening in the knees. And we want to look at your pelvis for just a moment and just notice if you're tucking that pelvis forward and underneath you. And place your hands right on your hips and just gently come back. And from there, we're going to create a nice neutral pelvis and spine. And so we know that that helps support the pelvic floor. If you're tucking all the time, standing with those sit bones underneath you, you're going to create short, tight muscles in the pelvic floor. So the one thing you can do right now while you're pregnant is just notice if your sit bones, your tailbone are right on top of your heels, that's where you want them. From there, we're going to soften into the knees, reach up, and take that left hand up and over to the right and breathe. And then come to center on your inhale, and we'll take the right wrist up and over to the left. And we'll just do one more round with your breath. Take your time. And then we're coming back to center, mountain pose. Your palms are facing forward. Again, notice the pelvis. I think you'll kind of feel now that once you're aware of this, you'll notice how much you just slide that pelvis under you. It's really common. So go ahead and press it back. Nice and gentle, neutral position. Let's inhale, reach up to the sky. Palms come together into your heart. And inhale, trust in your body. And draw that in. Inhale, trust in birth. And draw that in as well. And one more deep breath. Let's reach up. And we're going to take the feet really wide, bend the knees a lot, and we're taking a gentle fold forward. And then we'll come up to just a halfway lift for a transition. And then all the way down to hands and knees. And go ahead and take your blanket or pillows and set them aside. And just keep your block close by. And we're going to go ahead and set up for low lunges. So both hands will come to the left side of your mat. Step the right foot forward. And slide your left knee back wherever that feels good. And go ahead, if you have a block, you can place it at center, and you might feel like you just have a little more ease in the muscles. We're going to rock forward and back. And this is also one of our favorite poses for birth. So not only is it supporting the pelvis and helping reduce sciatica pain, which is wonderful, it also is creating space for baby in labor. So in our Birth Wisdom yoga classes, I found that when we started practicing this pose every week, in our sharing circle, women stopped saying that they were having as much sciatica pain, which was really interesting. And so that's also one of the remedies in my Birth Wisdom Yoga book. Know that you can come here prenatal, during the prenatal phase, or even postpartum. It'll really help your sciatica. And let's go ahead and try the other side. Come back to hands and knees. Both hands will come over to the right. We'll take that left foot forward. And again, you'll use the block here. You don't have to, but I think it generally gives you a softening in the muscles. It just feels a little bit easier. And when the muscles aren't gripping and tight, you're going to have more of an opening and a stretch. Staying with your breath. And remember, you want to bring an exercise or birth ball to labor. And you would have that here because your hands would get sore after a while. I've had women here for hours in labor, just rocking and rolling. It feels good. It's rhythmic. So that rhythm of movement with the breath is often what will become your lifeline in labor. So we want to have all of the support there so you can just rock and roll and breathe and create space for your baby. Let's come back to center, to hands and knees. And we're going to come into our first chaturanga. So prenatal chaturanga, as you know, will be modified. We can come into mini push-ups that look like this. So you can do as many of these as you like. We can also come into those pelvic circles. We can come into cat and cow. So we have about 5 breaths here, and I want you to decide what feels good for you. And if you need stillness and you just want to breathe, then go ahead and come into child's pose. So that's going to be up to you. Wherever you are, you're still breathing. Still releasing that exhale. And just remember, we're modifying up dog, we're modifying chaturanga to protect you from creating a diastasis in those abdominal muscles. We want to protect them from pushing through too far. All right, let's meet back at center. And now we're setting up for warrior one. So thumbs are together in the center of your mat. You're stepping the right foot forward, so this creates space for your knee to come through, and press into the left side. Come on up. You might use this thigh eventually. And then look back. Your left foot's on about a 45-degree angle towards the top of your mat. And then you're pressing into the heels. We're going to gently square the shoulders to the top of your mat and then come into the breath. Notice if you can find your heels. Press down as you reach up into the sky. And we're going to move a little more energy. Inhale, reach up. And with the exhale, the hands come back, straighten that right leg. Inhale, reaching up. And with the exhale, let everything out. And just flowing here, moving with your breath. One more time, inhale, reach up. And then we are going to flow down to your mat. So right hand comes to right thigh, left hand will come down, then left knee, and then hands and knees. And now you'll come into that prenatal chaturanga. Remember, you can find push-ups if you want to work your upper body. Since we're modifying that up dog and that low cobra, you can also come into pelvic circles or stay seated or child's pose. Wherever you are, just find the breath completely. And if you're tired, allow yourself to find stillness. Whatever it is, tap into what feels good here. Remembering that's one of the most empowering things you can do for labor is to know what you need and to do it. So this practice here on your mat, you'll take right with you into the labor room. So really feel here what feels good. And 2 more breaths wherever you are, long and slow. And we'll come back to center. And we are setting up for warrior one on the left side. So we're going to take your hands in the center of your mat. Your thumbs meet together. The left foot will step forward. Press into your feet. And maybe you use that left thigh for support to come on up. And just pressing into the heels. Notice your right foot. It's coming forward about 45 degrees. You want to make sure your toes, your knee, and your hip are all in that same line. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and reach up to the sky. Settle into the heels and come into your breath. And soften your jaw. Notice if your jaw is tight, and we're going to let that go. So there's that direct correlation between a nice soft jaw in labor and a nice soft open cervix. So we'll keep practicing that here as well. Let's inhale, reach up. And with the exhale, hands come back, straighten the left knee. And just flow here with your breath. Everything comes up, and then you exhale everything out. And then one more deep breath, reach up to the sky. And with your exhale, we're coming all the way down. So left hand to left thigh, right hand and knee will come all the way down. Kneading back the hands and knees. And then we're going to go ahead and come into downward facing dog just for a transition into a high goddess pose. So curl your toes on your mat. Fingers are nice and wide. And just take the hips up to the sky. Breathe here. And bend the knees a lot. Slowly walk back. And unroll nice and easy. And keeping your block close by, we're going to come into a nice high, wide goddess. When your toes are facing out. And you have a couple of options here. So you could stay right here and find stillness. If you want a little bit more, you can go ahead and pulse your goddess, moving with your breath. And we're going to be here for about the length of a contraction. So we're working on noticing the sensations in our body and diving into what we're feeling. And then if you want even more, you can even lift your heels and alternate down. So you have options here, stillness or pulsing. Wherever you are, just come into that breath, diving in, always remembering the breath is what's going to open you up to that birthing power and strength. It sounds so simple, but I've seen it again and again. Let's do 5 more. Finding that sweet spot and dive down even deeper. And if you want stillness, stay right here. 2 more breaths. And now we're going to go ahead and fold forward. It's going to feel so good. Yep. There you go. And just walk it out to the left, to the right. Nice, beautiful exhale. And now we're coming back to center. If you have a block, put it right in the center here. If not, it's okay. You can use your hands down on the floor in front of your mat. The block just makes it feel a little bit easier. So press down with the left hand. And we're going to come all the way up to the sky with the right hand. And then come all the way down to center. Press down and inhale, reach up. And let's do one more set. Pressing down, take your time, move with your breath. You feeling that in your inner thighs? Yes? It's really good. Nice and long muscles there. They connect to the pelvis and the pelvic floor. So that's always good news as well. So we're going to slowly, just gently toe heel your feet together. Maybe place your hands on your thighs. Come on up. And we're going to come on over to the wall for tree pose. And the wall will be here in case you need it for support, but actually we're not going to lean into the wall. So you'll be better off when you're pregnant if you came into tree pose and even stayed this low. So we want to create balance in your body, and this is a wonderful pose for kind of resetting your equilibrium as your baby grows. If you want to take it a little deeper, you can definitely soften into the left knee, ground down. You can take your foot up here. You can even take it up above your knee, but just know the wall is here in case you lose your balance. And if you feel really off, you can come right down here and settle into the breath. So what I often find with this pose is we can get really serious, which is really also kind of a mirror for mothering. I think we can get absolutely crazy worrying and planning. And so when you do come into tree pose and you find that you fall out, see if you can use that as just a reminder to love yourself, to come back into the breath, and to know that you can always start over and try again instead of the usual maybe getting very serious about it. Let's try the other side. Pressing down into the right foot, so you will decide you might stay here, you might bring that foot up higher. Wherever you are, just settle into the breath. Notice how each side feels. Notice where you might need to adjust. Notice the difference in your body from maybe when you've done this pose before. And just come into the breath even deeper. And you can also change the hands. They can come here to your heart center. They can come all the way up to the sky. So you see what feels good, where it feels good for you, where you're balanced and grounded. And let's go ahead and release. And we're just stepping over to the wall for one small little wall plank. We've done this before in our class. We're going to step back and just take a nice stretch here. Nice breath. And then come forward a little, bend the knees, and just a few pelvic circles just to open up and release the hips and the spine. And then let's go ahead and come back over to your mat and bring your block with you. So one of the wonderful things we discovered in our Birth Wisdom yoga classes is that when we come into bridge pose, if we're having those terrible cramps that you might get in your calves that in the evening when they wake you up in the middle of the night, bridge pose will completely release the muscles from gripping, and it's just a fantastic yoga remedy, a Birth Wisdom yoga remedy for you to use if you're getting leg cramps at night. So let's come into bridge. And you have a couple of options. So you can use your block for support right under your sacrum and come into a resting bridge here. You can also release that block and just keeping your heels towards your glutes. Press into your heels and lift your hips up to the sky and breathe. And the more you press into the heels, reach up with the hips, the more you're going to feel those contractions in your muscles release and soften. So just know in the middle of the night, if you get one of those leg cramps, just get on the floor and come into bridge. Women rave about it. So let's do a few more breaths here. And then we'll slowly come down, and we're just finding a gentle rocking happy baby just because it feels good after bridge. And remember, we're going to keep moving, so it's okay that you're on your back. We won't stay flat on that vena cava artery. We're going to move here and just take that massage that feels so good in the spine. Still breathing. And now let's just gently rock on over to your left side. And we're coming up into an easy seated position. And notice when you sit down, if your sit bones are tucking underneath you, go ahead and move them back a bit. So that's another pelvic floor yoga remedies. We want to make sure we're not tucking the pelvis when we're seated. And let's just come into some shoulder circles, see if there's anything left in the shoulders. Take them back, take them forward. Still releasing that exhale. And if it feels good, you can even circle the head and just opening up the neck a little bit more. Just take your time. Maybe allow the eyes to shut down. And then we're going to gently press down with the right hand, reach up with the left and take it over to the right and breathe. And then switch sides, take your time, pressing down, reaching up. And then coming back to center, we're coming into a seated twist. So we know this is a safe twist because both sit bones will stay on your mat. Walk both hands over to the left side, reach up and breathe through the crown of your head. And then we'll take it to the other side. And just open up, lift up through your head all the way to the sky. And then coming back to center, you're going to go ahead and take your right hand facing forward. Take your fingers on your left hand around your right hand and just bring the fingers towards your belly. So we're just stretching out your hands. We spend so much time on our hands and in our wrist in yoga, so this just feels really good. You can do this anytime throughout your day. Even just being pregnant, I know the wrists can start feeling a little bit tight, so you can always come here. And then we're going to gently come on down for shavasana, either onto your left side or your right. You can decide. And if you had your blanket or pillows between your knees when we started in meditation, go ahead and use those as well. It can just feel so much better. Finding your way all the way down. And just remember, we're going to take just a few breaths here, but shavasana is considered the most important pose in your practice. This is where your body receives the breath and the energy of the poses and the birth wisdom. So go ahead and allow your eyes to shut down and just give yourself the gift of soaking up this sacred space that you have really created for you and your baby to breathe and connect. And just continuing to breathe where you are. Intuition. Through the practice of yoga, I am learning to pause, breathe, and feel what is best for my family. I close my eyes, going inside my body and out of my head. I am honored to go through labor and bring my baby into the world. I listen to my body, so I slow down, rest, and eat when I need to replenish my energy. I accept the spiritual birth of myself from woman to mother. And just taking a deep inhale and sigh out your exhale. Taking it nice and slow, go ahead and come up to hands and knees. And then find your way into a seated position with your hands at heart center and your eyes shut down. You have plenty of time, so take your time coming up. I intend for you this week to continue practicing your birth breathing to open up to your unique intuition for pregnancy, birth, and mothering. Namaste. Thank you so much for practicing with me this week. I can't wait to see you next week when we explore Birth Wisdom 4.